My billionaire CEO's new wife has been secretly blocking my twins from winning his company's 100K Youth Innovation Contest until she made one silly mistake. Part 2. You can't possibly think I'd let my children move to Shanghai. Amy's voice was calm, but her white-knuckle grip on the hotel balcony railing betrayed her panic. Jack stepped closer, lowering his voice. It's $20 million, Amy, for technology they created. That they created because you suddenly decided to be a father again after 5 years of nothing. She turned to face him, eyes flashing. And now you're willing to ship them halfway across the world to a man who won't even explain why he needs exclusive rights? Jack's phone buzzed. He glanced down, and his face went pale. What now? Amy asked. It's Vanessa. She's in labor. Emma appeared in the doorway, still glowing from their standing ovation at the conference. Dad? Is everything okay? Before Jack could answer, his phone chimed again with a text. He held it up wordlessly. A message from Ming Zhang. Congratulations on your new son, Mr. Wilson. My offer expires in 24 hours. After that, I find other ways to acquire the technology. Perhaps from your ex-wife directly? Is he threatening us? Emma whispered. No, Jack said, his expression hardening into something Amy hadn't seen since their early days building Wilson Tech. He's threatening my family. All of my family. And that's the biggest mistake he could possibly make. Ethan appeared behind his sister. So what do we do? Jack looked at Amy, a silent question passing between them. Amy straightened her spine. We do what we've always done. We outsmart them. 3 hours earlier, the International Energy Conference in Geneva was unlike anything the twins had ever experienced. The grand hall of the conference center buzzed with languages from around the world, as leading scientists, corporate executives, and policymakers gathered to discuss the future of sustainable energy. Emma and Ethan stood backstage, making last-minute adjustments to their presentation slides. Do you think anyone will take us seriously? Emma whispered, smoothing her blazer for the 5th time. At 14, she was easily the youngest presenter in the conference's history. Ethan glanced at his identical watch. They'll take our technology seriously. That's what matters. What if they ask something we can't answer? Emma fretted, her usual confidence wavering. Then we'll say, that's an excellent question that requires further research. Just like Mom taught us. From the side entrance, Amy approached in a simple but elegant navy dress. You two ready? They're introducing you in 5 minutes. Mom, what if we freeze up there? Emma rarely showed vulnerability, but her mother was the exception. Amy squeezed her daughter's shoulder. Remember, you know more about your technology than anyone in that room. You've earned your place here. Where's Dad? Ethan asked, scanning the wings. Taking an urgent call from the legal team, something about Vanessa's latest filing. Amy kept her voice neutral, years of practice hiding her frustration with her ex-husband's complicated life. He promised to be front row before you start. The conference moderator's voice echoed through the sound system. Our next presentation represents a true breakthrough in solar energy storage efficiency. Even more remarkably, it was developed by two 14-year-old innovators whose work has been validated by MIT's engineering department. Please welcome Emma and Ethan Reed. Reed Wilson, Ethan corrected automatically, though no one but his family could hear him. Amy gave them each a quick hug. Go change the world. As the twins walked onto the stage, Jack slipped through the side door, catching Amy's eye with an apologetic smile. Made it. Vanessa's lawyers are pushing for an emergency hearing before the baby comes. Focus on right now, Amy reminded him. Our children are about to shine. On stage, Emma and Ethan moved with surprising poise. The initial murmurs about their youth quieted as soon as Emma began explaining their dual-phase conversion technology. Her clear voice carried authority beyond her years. The fundamental challenge of solar energy has always been efficient storage, she explained, as Ethan activated their holographic demonstration. Our system achieves 42% better retention than current commercial solutions by implementing this proprietary algorithm. The hologram showed energy flow paths through their system, color-coded to highlight efficiency improvements. Ethan took over seamlessly. More importantly, we've designed this using readily available materials and existing manufacturing processes. This isn't a laboratory curiosity. It's market-ready technology that could be implemented globally within 18 months. From their seats, Amy and Jack exchanged a glance of parental pride. Whatever complications existed between them, they had created something extraordinary together, these brilliant young minds now captivating some of the world's leading energy experts. In the third row, a man in an impeccably tailored suit watched with unusual intensity. Unlike the other attendees taking notes on tablets, Ming Zhang observed unblinking, his stillness a contrast to the excited murmurs around him. The question session revealed the true depth of the twins' knowledge. When challenged on thermal degradation issues, Emma provided detailed data from their extended testing. When questioned about scalability, Ethan outlined their modular approach with precision. For 14-year-olds to hold their own against seasoned engineers was remarkable. To dominate the discussion was unprecedented. As the final question concluded, the audience rose in spontaneous standing ovation. The twins stood momentarily frozen in surprise before breaking into identical grins. Backstage, Jack enveloped them both in a bear hug. That was extraordinary. You two were absolutely brilliant. Did you see their faces when you answered that question about the quantum tunneling effect? Amy laughed, her eyes shining with pride. That professor from Cambridge looked like he'd seen a ghost. Emma bounced on her toes, riding the adrenaline high. Can you believe they actually understood our work? These are the best minds in energy science. Of course they understood, Ethan said, more contained but equally pleased. Our design is elegant. Elegance speaks for itself. A conference assistant approached with reverence. Excuse me, Miss and Mr. Reed? Several attendees have requested meetings with you, including Mr. Ming Zhang of Horizon Technologies. Zhang? Jack's expression shifted subtly. The Chinese energy billionaire? Yes, sir. He's particularly interested in discussing implementation possibilities in developing Asian markets. The twins exchanged their silent communication look, excitement passing between them. When would he like to meet? Emma asked. He's hosting a reception at the Lake Geneva Grand Hotel this evening. He specifically requested your family attend as his honored guests. After the assistant left, Jack looked thoughtful. Ming Zhang doesn't personally invite people to meetings unless he sees significant value. Is that good or bad? Amy asked, her protective instincts flaring. Potentially, very good. Horizon Technologies has revolutionized energy distribution across Asia. They have the infrastructure to implement the twins' technology on a massive scale. But, Amy pressed, knowing her ex-husband's business tone. But Zhang has a reputation for aggressive acquisition strategies. He doesn't partner, he owns. Emma's eyes widened. You think he wants to buy our patent? I think, Jack said carefully, that we should hear what he has to say while remembering that your innovation belongs to you. Your decision, not mine or your mother's, will determine its future. The twins exchanged another look. We're just going to listen, Ethan decided. No commitments. Exactly, Emma agreed. Besides, how often do 14-year-olds get invited to billionaire receptions? Amy smiled at their excitement while exchanging a concerned glance with Jack. They both recognized the potential complications of major corporate interest in their children's work. I'll call Marcus to review the patent protections again, Jack murmured as the twins gathered their presentation materials. Just to be safe. Good idea, Amy nodded. And I'll remind the twins that their standard response to any direct offer is, we'll need to consult with our legal team. Jack smiled slightly. We make a good team sometimes, don't we? Co-parenting team, Amy clarified, but returned the smile. But yes, we do. The Lake Geneva Grand Hotel epitomized old-world luxury, its marble-floored reception hall transformed for Ming Zhang's gathering. Crystal chandeliers reflected off sterling silver serving pieces while attendants circulated with champagne and sparkling cider for the underage guests of honor. The twins had dressed in their conference outfits, Emma in a tailored blue blazer and slacks, Ethan in a charcoal suit that made him look older than his 14 years. Amy wore a simple black cocktail dress, while Jack had changed into one of his signature custom suits, the uniform of a tech billionaire. Ming Zhang approached as they entered, a slim man in his 50s with intelligent eyes and a carefully cultivated friendly demeanor. The brilliant Reed siblings and their parents, my honored guests. His English carried only the slightest accent. Your presentation was the highlight of the conference. Thank you, Mr. Zhang, Emma replied, accepting his handshake with unexpected poise. Please, call me Ming. We are colleagues in the energy revolution, are we not? Ethan studied the man carefully. You believe our storage system has practical applications? Ming's smile widened. Young man, I believe your system could transform energy accessibility across the developing world. That is my company's mission, bringing sustainable power to those regions traditional infrastructure cannot reach. Jack extended his hand. Jack Wilson, we've never formally met, though I believe our companies have crossed paths on Asian expansion projects. Indeed, Wilson Tech's communications infrastructure has been most complementary to our energy initiatives. Ming turned to Amy, and you must be Dr. Reed, the recently acknowledged Wilson Tech co-founder. Your children have clearly inherited your innovative vision. Amy shook his hand firmly. They've developed their technology independently. We're here merely as proud parents and advisors. Of course. Ming gestured toward a private seating area. Perhaps we might speak more comfortably? I have some thoughts about your technology that might interest you. The private alcove offered a stunning view of Lake Geneva, while providing separation from the main reception. As they settled into plush chairs, waitstaff appeared with refreshments. I will be direct. Ming began once they were alone. Your dual-phase conversion system represents the missing piece in my company's rural electrification initiative. We currently bring solar collection to remote villages, but storage limitations mean unreliable power. Your technology could change that completely. The twins leaned forward, engaged by the practical application. We've actually been thinking about implementation in developing regions, Emma said. The simplified maintenance requirements make it ideal for areas without technical infrastructure. Ming nodded approvingly. Precisely. You understand the global implications of your work. Most innovators think only of profitable Western markets. Our children have always been concerned with practical impact, Amy said. Not just commercial potential, which is why I wish to make you a proposal. Ming set down his drink. Horizon Technologies would like to acquire exclusive implementation rights to your technology for Asian markets. We would establish a dedicated development division in Shanghai, with you two as lead consultants, despite your youth. Full creative control, with our manufacturing capacity behind you. Jack maintained a neutral expression, and the financial terms of such an arrangement, $20 million upfront for the exclusive regional rights, plus 5% of implementation revenue, which could be substantially more over time. The room fell silent. $20 million to 14-year-olds was beyond comprehension. Ethan recovered first. Would we have to move to China? For optimal development, yes. We would establish you in Shanghai with appropriate educational arrangements and living quarters. Your parents would be welcome to visit, of course. Move to Shanghai? Amy repeated, her voice carefully controlled. That's a significant disruption to their education and family life. Ming nodded sympathetically. A valid concern. Perhaps seasonal residency, 3 months in Shanghai, followed by home time? We are flexible on arrangements that maintain their well-being. Jack studied Ming thoughtfully. Why exclusive rights? Why not a licensing arrangement that wouldn't require relocation? The proprietary nature of the technology requires close development supervision. Licensing creates security vulnerabilities. Ming's smile remained pleasant, but his eyes hardened slightly. Surely as a tech CEO yourself, Mr. Wilson, if you understand the value of keeping revolutionary technology protected? Before Jack could respond, his phone vibrated. He glanced at it, then looked up with an apologetic smile. Excuse me for a moment, I need to take this call. As Jack stepped away, Ming turned his attention fully to the twins. Tell me, what are your ambitions for this technology? Beyond the patent and recognition? The twins exchanged their silent communication look. We want it implemented where it can do the most good, Emma answered. With proper credit and control maintained, Ethan added pointedly. Of course. In fact, we would establish the Shanghai division under your name, the Reed Innovation Center. Your identity would be inseparable from the technology. Amy watched her children's faces, seeing the temptation forming. $20 million, a named research center, global implementation. It was a 14-year-old inventor's dream. But something about Ming's eagerness triggered her caution. This is obviously a significant opportunity, she said carefully. But any decision would require thorough legal review and consideration of their academic future. Naturally, Ming agreed smoothly. I wouldn't expect an immediate answer, though I should note that several other conference attendees have expressed interest in your children's work. Technology, this revolutionary, rarely remains available for long. Jack returned to the alcove, his expression tightly controlled but tension visible in his shoulders. Everything okay? Amy asked. We should probably head back to our hotel soon, he replied, not answering directly. Ming rose gracefully. Of course. Family must come first. But please consider my offer. I'll have the formal proposal delivered to your hotel in the morning." He handed elegant business cards to each of the twins. "My direct number. Feel free to contact me with any questions." As they made their goodbyes and left the reception, Jack remained unusually quiet. In the hotel car, after the twins were engrossed in discussing the reception, he leaned toward Amy. "Vanessa's in early labor," he said quietly. "Her doctor thinks the baby might come tonight or tomorrow." Amy's eyes widened. "You need to go back." "I know. I'm checking on flights now." Emma looked up, catching the serious tone. "What's wrong?" Jack hesitated, then decided on honesty. "Vanessa's gone into early labor. I'll need to fly back to be there when the baby comes." The twins processed this with matching frowns. "But we're supposed to tour CERN tomorrow," Ethan said, disappointment evident. "And we need to discuss Mr. Zhang's offer," Emma added. Jack looked genuinely torn. "I know, and I'm sorry. I'd planned to be here for the full week, but your new baby is coming," Emma finished, her voice carefully neutral. "We understand. Mom will stay with you," Jack assured them. "We'll discuss Zhang's offer by video call once things settle. And I promise we'll reschedule the CERN tour." Amy could see the familiar hurt building behind the twins' controlled expressions. Another event, another promise impacted by Jack's complicated life. Yet she also recognized the impossible position he was in. "Your father should be there when your brother is born," she said gently. "That's important for all of you, including your relationship with your new sibling." The twins exchanged one of their looks, silent communication passing between them. "You should go, Dad," Ethan said finally. "The baby shouldn't have to start without a father present." The pointed reference to their own history wasn't lost on Jack, who winced slightly. "I'll make this up to you both," he promised. "It's fine," Emma said with forced brightness. "Besides, we have a $20 million offer to consider." "That's pretty exciting." Back at their hotel, Jack immediately began arranging his emergency return flight, while Amy helped the twins prepare for the next day's originally planned activities. "Do you think Dad would let us move to Shanghai?" Emma asked when they were alone in their connecting room. Ethan looked skeptical. "After he just fought so hard to be part of our lives again? No way." "But $20 million, Ethan, and our own research center, with strings attached," her brother pointed out. "Zhang doesn't want partners. He wants ownership." "You don't know that." "I recognize that look. It's the same one Jason Prescott had before he destroyed our project files." Calculating, Emma flopped onto her bed. "Maybe you're just being paranoid." "Maybe. Or maybe we should ask ourselves why someone would offer that much money when they could license the technology for much less." In the adjoining room, Amy and Jack were having a similar conversation in hushed tones. "You can't possibly think I'd let my children move to Shanghai." Amy's voice was calm, but her white-knuckle grip on the hotel balcony railing betrayed her panic. Jack stepped closer, lowering his voice. "It's $20 million, Amy. For technology they created. That they created because you suddenly decided to be a father again after 5 years of nothing." She turned to face him, eyes flashing. "And now you're willing to ship them halfway across the world to a man who won't even explain why he needs exclusive rights?" Jack's phone buzzed. He glanced down and his face went pale. "What now?" Amy asked. "It's Vanessa. Her water broke. She's heading to the hospital now." Emma appeared in the doorway, still glowing from their standing ovation at the conference. "Dad, is everything okay?" Before Jack could answer, his phone chimed again with a text. He held it up wordlessly. A message from Ming Zhang. "Congratulations on your new son, Mr. Wilson. My offer expires in 24 hours. After that, I find other ways to acquire the technology. Perhaps from your ex-wife directly?" "Is he threatening us?" Emma whispered. "No," Jack said, his expression hardening into something Amy hadn't seen since their early days building Wilson Tech. "He's threatening my family. All of my family. And that's the biggest mistake he could possibly make." Ethan appeared behind his sister. "So what do we do?" Jack looked at Amy. A silent question passing between them. Amy straightened her spine. "We do what we've always done. We outsmart them." Jack's overnight flight left Amy and the twins with a sleepless night and lingering questions. How had Ming Zhang known about Vanessa's labor? Why the sudden 24-hour deadline? And most disturbing, what did he mean by approaching Amy directly? Morning brought a formal proposal delivered to their hotel suite, along with an elaborate basket of Swiss chocolates for the twins. Amy set the sweets aside untouched, focusing instead on the detailed contract. He's asking for full intellectual property transfer, not just implementation rights, she noted, scanning the document. That's significantly different from what he proposed verbally. Emma peered over her shoulder. But it still mentions the Reed Innovation Center and our consulting roles. As employees, not owners, Amy clarified. There's a significant difference. You'd be selling your creation entirely, then being hired to continue developing it under their direction. Ethan paced the room. I told you he wanted ownership, not partnership. Let's not jump to conclusions, Amy cautioned. This could be standard opening negotiation. We need Marcus's legal review. And Dad's input, Emma added. Has he landed yet? Amy checked her phone. His flight arrived an hour ago. He should be heading to the hospital now. She hesitated. I'm going to send the contract to Wilson Tech's legal team for immediate review. And I think we should consider heading home early. Because of Zhang's weird text? Ethan asked. Because I don't like the gap between what was promised verbally and what's in writing, or the implied threat. Amy began gathering their documents. Let's skip today's conference sessions and pack instead. We can take an earlier flight back to the States. Emma looked disappointed. But we're scheduled to receive the Innovation Award at tonight's gala. And what about Zhang's offer? $20 million, Mom. Money you don't need immediately, Amy reminded her. Your MIT partnership and Wilson Tech resources already support your development plans. There's no rush to make this decision. But Amy's phone rang, Jack calling. She answered on speaker. Is everything okay? She asked immediately. Vanessa's in delivery now, Jack replied, his voice tense. Should be soon. But that's not why I'm calling. Ming Zhang isn't just interested in the twins' current technology. Intelligence from our Asia division suggests he's working on weapons applications for clean energy systems. Amy felt a chill. What kind of weapons applications? Directed energy weapons disguised as civilian power infrastructure, perfectly positioned for military advantage without appearing threatening. The twins exchanged alarmed looks. You think he wants our technology for weapons? Emma sounded horrified. It's a strong possibility. The efficiency improvements you've achieved would make compact, powerful energy weapons feasible, particularly in disputed territories where conventional military presence would create international incidents. Ethan looked ill. Our technology is supposed to help people, not hurt them. Which is precisely why I'm having the jet prepared to bring you home immediately, Jack continued. We're also running security sweeps on all your devices. Zhang has sophisticated cyber capabilities, and I'm concerned he might attempt to access your research data remotely. Amy began moving with purpose, gathering laptops and tablets. We'll head to the airport now. What about the formal contract he delivered this morning? Don't touch it further. It may contain tracking nanotechnology. Marcus is reviewing the digital copy you sent. He's found several concerning clauses buried in the technical language. Like what? Emma asked. Like ownership of all derivative technologies, which could be interpreted to include any future innovations you develop, even unrelated ones. And restrictions on your ability to work in the energy sector for 5 years after any termination of the consulting arrangement. Ethan's expression darkened. He was trying to lock us down completely. Exactly. Pack only what you need. The Wilson Tech security team will meet you at the private aviation terminal. As Amy helped the twins gather their belongings, her mind raced with implications. What had started as a proud international debut for her children's innovation had morphed into something darker, with potential military applications and corporate espionage. Mom, Emma said quietly as they prepared to leave. How did Zhang know about Vanessa's labor? And why contact Dad about it? I don't know, Amy admitted, but it suggests he has access to information he shouldn't, which is another reason to be cautious. The hotel phone rang, startling them all. Amy answered cautiously. Mrs. Reed Wilson? The hotel manager's voice. There's a gentleman in the lobby insisting on speaking with you and your children before your departure. A Mr. Zhang. He says it's quite urgent regarding their presentation technology. Amy's grip tightened on the phone. Please inform Mr. Zhang that we're not available, and we'd appreciate security escort to our vehicle. Of course, madam. Though he was most insistent. I understand, but we have a flight to catch. Thank you. She turned to the twins, keeping her voice calm but firm. Change of plans. We're going now. Leave the checked luggage. Security will retrieve it later. Just take your personal devices and backpacks. Is Zhang downstairs? Ethan asked, already moving toward the door. Yes, which means we'll use the service elevator. Follow me, and stay close. As they slipped through the service corridors, Amy sent a quick text to Jack. Zhang at hotel, taking alternate exit. Security meeting us curbside. Jack's response was immediate. Security alerted. Car waiting at East Service entrance. Use the kitchen exit. The hotel's kitchen staff barely glanced up as Amy led the twins through the busy space. At the loading dock, a black SUV with Wilson Tech's European security head waited. Dr. Reed, the security officer, greeted her. Please get in quickly. We've detected unusual surveillance activity around the hotel. As they pulled away from the hotel, Emma looked back nervously. Do you think Zhang would actually try something? We're just kids with a solar project. The security officer glanced in the rearview mirror. Mr. Zhang has a documented history of aggressive acquisition tactics, miss, and your technology has significantly more potential applications than you might realize. The weapons potential Dad mentioned? Ethan asked. Among other things. Your efficiency improvements could revolutionize several sensitive technology areas. The officer changed lanes, watching the traffic behind them carefully. We'll be taking an indirect route to the airport. Standard precaution. Amy squeezed the twins' hands reassuringly, while her own anxiety mounted. She'd expected their innovation to attract attention, but not this kind of attention. Not veiled threats and security escorts, and talk of weapons applications. Her phone chimed with a message from Jack. Vanessa delivered. Healthy boy, 6 pounds 2 ounces, both stable. Named William James Wilson. Security confirms Zhang has connections to Chinese military research. Do not engage if contacted. Get on the plane. I've arranged for additional security at home. Amy showed the twins the first part of the message. Your brother's here. Despite the tension, both teenagers smiled slightly. William James, Emma repeated. That's actually a nice name. Doesn't sound like something Vanessa would choose, Ethan observed. Dad must have had input. Emma agreed. Focus, please, Amy gently redirected. We need to discuss what happens when we get home. Your technology has suddenly become much more complicated. The security officer made another turn, then frowned at his rearview mirror. We may have a tail. Black sedan, 3 cars back. Amy resisted the urge to turn around. Options? Approaching police checkpoint ahead. We'll pull over voluntarily, inform them of security concerns. The officer touched his earpiece. Team 2 confirming airport security measures in place. As the SUV pulled toward the police checkpoint, Amy's phone rang again, an unknown number. She declined it immediately, but a text followed from the same number. Dr. Reed, ignoring legitimate business opportunities does your children a disservice. Your ex-husband's paranoia about my intentions is misplaced. 20 million is a fair opening offer. 30 might be possible with the right agreements. Do not board that flight. Mingzhong. Amy showed the security officer, who nodded grimly. Classic escalation tactic. Offer more money while increasing pressure. And further confirmation he has real-time information on your movements. The Swiss police officers approached their vehicle. After a brief conversation in which the security officer showed credentials and explained the situation, the police provided escort directly to the private aviation terminal, effectively ending any potential tail. On the private jet, Amy finally relaxed slightly as the twins settled into the plush seats. Try to rest, she told them. It's a long flight home. Mom, Emma said hesitantly. Do you think we made something dangerous? We were trying to help people, not create a weapon. Amy sat beside her daughter, choosing her words carefully. Most significant technologies have dual-use potential, Emma. Nuclear energy can power cities or create bombs. The internet connects humanity or enables surveillance. Your innovation is fundamentally positive, efficient energy storage for sustainable power. But in the wrong hands, yes, that efficiency could be weaponized. So we shouldn't have created it? Ethan asked, genuine distress in his voice. No, that's not the lesson here, Amy assured him. The lesson is that creators bear responsibility for guiding their innovations toward positive applications. By refusing Zhang's offer, you're already demonstrating that responsibility. As the plane began its takeoff roll, Amy's phone chimed one final time before she would need to switch it to airplane mode. Another message from Jack. Marcus found something concerning in your cloud backup records. Multiple access attempts from Shanghai IP addresses over the past 3 months. They've been monitoring the twins' work long before the conference. This isn't opportunistic, It's targeted. We'll explain more when you land. Stay safe. Amy stared at the message as the plane lifted into the air. 3 months. Before the MIT partnership announcement, before the international conference invitation, someone in China had been specifically tracking her children's technology development, patiently watching and waiting for the right moment to approach. Which meant Ming Zhang's interest wasn't sparked by the conference presentation. He'd known exactly what he wanted before they ever arrived in Geneva. The question was, how had he known about their technology in the first place? And who else might be watching her children's work with similar interest? As the plane reached cruising altitude, Amy gazed at her sleeping twins. Their brilliant minds had created something valuable enough that powerful people were willing to threaten and manipulate to obtain it. Their innovation journey had just become significantly more complicated and potentially dangerous. She would need to prepare them for what awaited at home. Increased security, limited online presence, careful monitoring of their research data. The days of innocent scientific exploration had ended, replaced by something more complex and concerning. Across the ocean, in a private hospital suite, Jack Wilson held his newborn son while managing a security crisis via his encrypted phone. William James slept peacefully, unaware of the complication his half-siblings faced or the careful balance his father maintained between two families. Double the home security detail, Jack instructed his chief of security, and implement the full digital protection protocol for the twins' research servers. No remote access without biometric confirmation. Yes, sir. And regarding Miss Vanessa's security, Jack glanced at his sleeping ex-wife. Despite their contentious divorce proceedings, ensuring her safety and their sons was non-negotiable. Full protection detail, but discreet. She won't accept obvious security presence. Understood. And sir, we've intercepted communications suggesting Zhang has already attempted to make contact with someone in Miss Vanessa's inner circle. Jack's jaw tightened. Who? We're working to identify the individual. Initial indicators suggest someone with regular physical access to her residence. Keep me informed, and send the jet back for me as soon as Amy and the twins are home. I need to be there when they land. As Jack ended the call, he looked down at his newborn son. Another child to protect in an increasingly complicated world. Another vulnerability for those who might wish to leverage pressure against him or his company. It's a complex family you've been born into, William, he whispered to the sleeping infant. But I promise you this, I won't make the same mistakes twice. I'll be there for you and for your brother and sister, whatever it takes. In her hospital bed, Vanessa stirred and opened her eyes. Is he still sleeping? She asked groggily. Like an angel, Jack confirmed, bringing the baby closer for her to see. Have you heard from them? She asked unexpectedly. Jack didn't pretend to misunderstand. They're on their way home. There were complications with a Chinese investor interested in their technology. Vanessa's expression revealed nothing. Complications? What kind? The kind that suggest industrial espionage and potential weaponization of their innovation. Something flickered in Vanessa's eyes. Concern, calculation, Jack couldn't be certain. You should be with them, she said finally. They're just children facing adult dangers. The statement surprised Jack. I needed to be here for William's birth. And you have been? Vanessa reached for her son. We're fine now. Safe in a private hospital with your security team hovering outside. Emma and Ethan need their father too. Jack studied his ex-wife carefully. Was this genuine maternal concern for his older children, or something else? Their relationship had been so fraught with manipulation and control that sincerity was difficult to identify. Thank you, he said carefully. I'll arrange to fly back once they've landed. Jack, Vanessa said as he turned to leave. Be careful. People who want technology badly enough to threaten children are capable of anything. Again, that ambiguous tone, warning or observation. Jack nodded and stepped out, immediately calling his pilot to arrange his return flight. Whether Vanessa's concern was genuine or not, she was right about one thing. Emma and Ethan were children facing adult dangers, and they needed their father's protection and guidance. As Jack waited for his son to be cleared for discharge, he received another security update. The black sedan following Amy and the twins in Geneva had been traced to a shell company with connections to both Horizon Technologies and a Chinese military research division. The threat was real and escalating, moving beyond business pressure into something more concerning. The twins' innovation journey had taken a darker turn than anyone had anticipated. What should have been a triumphant international debut had become the beginning of something more complex and potentially dangerous, a game of technological chess with his children's creation as the prize, and possibly their safety at stake. The twins' return to America felt surreal after the whirlwind events in Geneva. Instead of the triumphant homecoming they'd anticipated, they arrived to find their house transformed by security measures, reinforced windows, surveillance cameras, and 2 plainclothes security officers who would now be part of the household staff. "This is insane," Ethan muttered as they entered their home lab to find all their equipment disconnected, sealed in clear plastic, awaiting security screening. "We made a solar battery, not nuclear weapons." "Apparently the line between the two is thinner than we realized," Emma replied, dropping her backpack on the couch. "Did you notice the new locks require fingerprint authentication?" Amy watched her children survey their altered environment with a mixture of guilt and determination. "I know this feels excessive, but Ming Zheng's interest goes beyond normal corporate acquisition. The tracking attempts on your data prove that. But will we ever get to work on our project again? Or are we just going to live in a bubble now?" Ethan's frustration was palpable. Before Amy could answer, their security system announced Jack's arrival. He entered looking exhausted but alert, having flown directly from the hospital after ensuring Vanessa and William were safely settled at home with their own security detail. "Dad." Despite their complicated feelings, both twins moved to embrace him. The shared danger had momentarily superseded the hurt of his abbreviated Geneva trip. Jack hugged them tightly, relief evident in his expression. "I'm sorry about all this. The security measures are temporary until we better understand Zhang's intentions." "How's the baby?" Emma asked, her natural curiosity overcoming lingering resentment. Jack's expression softened. "Healthy. Small but strong. He has your chin, actually." "Poor kid," Ethan joked half-heartedly. "Mom always says our chins are stubbornly Wilson." A moment of normalcy in the abnormal situation. Amy allowed herself a small smile before redirecting. "Jack, the security team said you found something in our cloud storage logs?" Jack's expression turned serious again. "Yes, access attempts from multiple Chinese IP addresses dating back 3 months. Initially focused on your MIT partnership documentation, then expanding to include all research files." 3 months, Amy repeated. "That's before the MIT announcement was even public." "Exactly. Which means someone with inside information directed them to your work specifically." The twins exchanged their silent communication look. "Someone at MIT?" Ethan suggested. "Or Wilson Tech," Emma countered. "Or the patent office." "We're investigating all possibilities," Jack assured them. "For now, we've established a secure local server for your research that isn't connected to external networks. You can continue your work, but with stricter protocols." "What about the MIT partnership?" Amy asked. "The twins are supposed to begin their special mentorship program next week." Jack hesitated. "That's our other concern." Marcus received a strange call from MIT's development office this morning. Apparently, there are suddenly questions about the funding for the twins program. "What kind of questions?" Amy asked sharply. "Ethical concerns about directing university resources to minors, potential conflicts of interest with Wilson Tech's involvement, timing issues with their academic readiness." Jack's tone made clear what he thought of these excuses. "It feels manufactured." "Zhang?" Amy suggested. "Possibly. He has connections at several major technical universities. Or it could be unrelated administrative issues. We're still looking into it." Emma looked crestfallen. "So our MIT program is canceled? After everything?" "Not canceled," Jack clarified. "Delayed pending review. I've scheduled a video call with the department chair tomorrow to discuss the situation." The twins absorbed this additional disappointment with remarkable composure, but Amy could see the strain in their expressions. They'd gone from international acclaim to house arrest and program suspension in less than a week. "This isn't forever," she reminded them gently. "Your work is still groundbreaking. We just need to protect it, and you, while we navigate these complications." Jack nodded. "Your mother's right. And once your equipment is cleared by security, you can resume development here at home. Wilson Tech's resources remain available to you. Unless someone raises ethical concerns about that too," Ethan muttered. "No one can block my support for my children's work," Jack said firmly. "That's non-negotiable." A security officer appeared at the doorway. "Mr. Wilson? The sweep is complete. All monitoring devices have been neutralized." Jack frowned. "Monitoring devices? You found something?" Yes, sir. 2 passive audio transmitters in the main laboratory space. Commercially available technology, but professionally installed. Based on their positioning, they've been present for at least several weeks. The implications settled over the family like a cold shadow. Someone's been listening to us in our own home? Emma whispered, wrapping her arms around herself. Who would have access to install them? Amy asked, mentally reviewing recent visitors. Jack's expression darkened. That's the most concerning question. These weren't remotely activated. Someone physically placed them here. Ethan began systematically scanning the room. What else? What if there are cameras too? The sweep was thorough, the security officer assured him. No visual surveillance detected, just audio. And only in the lab area, not personal spaces. That provided little comfort. The lab was where the twins discussed their most innovative ideas, where breakthroughs happened, where proprietary details were casually mentioned during work sessions. I want a list of everyone who's had access to this house in the past 3 months, Jack instructed the security team. Service personnel, delivery people, social visitors, everyone. As the adults handled the security implications, the twins retreated to Emma's bedroom, their childhood sanctuary since long before the divorce. This is bad, Ethan said quietly once they were alone. Really bad. I know. She sat cross-legged on her bed, the excitement of Geneva now seeming distant and naive. Someone's been listening to our work, probably feeding information to Zhang. But who? Mom's research assistant Priya? Dad's tech team? Emma shook her head. Priya's been with Mom for years. And Dad's team has access to way more valuable technology than ours. Then who? The uncomfortable question hung between them. The list of people with repeated access to their home was limited. The implications of any of them being involved in industrial espionage were deeply personal. Maybe it was just a random corporate spy, Emma suggested without conviction. Someone who heard about our project and took a chance. With professionally installed equipment, in our home lab specifically, Ethan wasn't convinced. This feels targeted. Their conversation was interrupted by a notification on Emma's tablet. She glanced at it, then froze. What? Ethan asked. Email from Professor Chen at MIT. She opened it hesitantly. It's weird. Ethan moved to read over her shoulder. The message was brief but unexpected. Emma, despite the official program delay, I remain impressed by your individual contributions to the dual-phase conversion system, particularly the algorithmic innovations. I'd like to offer you a special individual internship in my private research lab, separate from the MIT partnership. This would focus on theoretical applications of your algorithm in quantum computing environments. Please consider this opportunity carefully. It would require temporary relocation to Cambridge, but would significantly advance your academic profile. Confidentiality regarding this offer is requested until arrangements are finalized. Professor Eliza Chen. The twins stared at the message in silence. An individual internship? Just for you? Ethan finally said, his voice carefully neutral. It doesn't make sense, Emma replied. Our work has always been collaborative. The algorithm builds on your hardware design. Maybe she thinks you're the real brain behind the operation. Ethan suggested with forced lightness that didn't hide his hurt. That's ridiculous. We're a team. Emma closed the email without responding. I'm not interested in splitting up our work. But the damage was already done. The seed of division had been planted precisely when the twins most needed their unified front. As they rejoined their parents downstairs, the subtle tension between them was noticeable to Amy's perceptive eye. Everything okay? She asked quietly as Jack continued discussing security protocols with the team. Fine, both twins answered simultaneously, then glanced at each other with uncharacteristic awkwardness. Amy didn't press, but made a mental note to check in with them individually later. Divide and conquer was a classic strategy, and if someone was actively working to undermine the twins' innovation, separating them would be an effective first step. The next morning brought new complications. Jack arrived early, having spent most of the night coordinating security reviews across multiple locations, the twins' home, Vanessa's new house, and the Wilson Tech research facilities where backups of the twins' work were stored. Vanessa's given an interview, he announced without preamble, setting his tablet on the kitchen counter during the twins' breakfast. The screen showed Vanessa holding newborn William, looking tired but beautiful in what appeared to be a carefully orchestrated, candid home photo. The headline read, Vanessa Wilson welcomes son alone as tech billionaire husband focuses on first family. Amy read the article with growing concern. While carefully avoiding direct accusations, Vanessa had painted herself as the supportive wife left managing a newborn, while Jack prioritized his first family's interests during a critical time. The phrasing implied knowledge of the current situation without specifying details. Is she intentionally making this harder? Amy asked quietly, conscious of the twins pretending not to listen from the breakfast table. It's complicated, Jack replied, equally low. Part of our custody agreement includes her right to manage her public image independently. I can't legally prevent these interviews, but the timing, Jack. With everything else happening. He nodded grimly. I know. I've asked Marcus to review whether this violates our confidentiality clauses, but litigation would only make the situation more public. Mom? Dad? Emma called from the table. We can hear you, you know, and we can read. The adults exchanged a glance before joining the twins. I'm sorry about that article, Jack said directly. Vanessa's perspective is filtered through her own experience. You mean she's manipulating the media to make herself look like the victim? Ethan translated bluntly. While we're dealing with actual security threats. The situation is complex for everyone, Jack said carefully. Vanessa is adjusting to new motherhood while managing divorce proceedings and security concerns of her own. Is William okay? Emma asked, showing her characteristic empathy despite the circumstances. Jack's expression softened. He's perfect, healthy and strong. And very well protected. When can we meet him? The question surprised everyone, including Emma herself, who seemed startled by her own interest. I'd like that very much, Jack said after a moment. Once the immediate security situation stabilizes, he's your brother, after all. Ethan's expression remained guarded, but he nodded slightly. Despite their complicated feelings about their father's new child, biology created a connection they couldn't ignore. The family video call with MIT later that morning only increased tensions. The department chair, Professor Harris, appeared uncomfortable as he explained the administrative concerns that had arisen regarding the twins' special program. Anonymous complaints have been filed regarding the ethical implications of allocating significant resources to minors outside standard academic channels, he explained. The university is conducting a review to ensure all proper protocols have been followed. Anonymous complaints? Jack repeated skeptically. After the partnership was publicly announced and celebrated? Unfortunately, yes. And there are additional concerns about potential conflicts of interest given Wilson Tech's involvement in the twins' patent application. That's absurd, Amy interjected. The patent is registered solely in the twins' names, with no corporate ownership by Wilson Tech. Nevertheless, the perception of impropriety requires investigation. Professor Harris looked genuinely regretful. I want to assure you that I personally support continuing the partnership. This is a bureaucratic hurdle we need to navigate. How long will this review take? Jack asked directly. Difficult to say. Weeks, possibly longer given the summer schedule and administrative backlog. After the call ended, the family sat in frustrated silence. Another roadblock, another delay, more evidence that unknown forces were working against them. This isn't coincidence, Amy said finally. First Zhang's aggressive pursuit, then the monitoring devices, now MIT suddenly developing ethical concerns about a program they created specifically for Emma and Ethan. Agreed. Someone systematically attempting to isolate the twins from institutional support. Jack turned to his children. Which makes it even more important that you two continue working together, maintaining your unified approach to the technology. Emma and Ethan exchanged a look that contained unusual hesitation. About that, Emma began carefully. I received an individual internship offer from Professor Chin yesterday, just for me, focusing on the algorithmic elements. Jack frowned. Separate from the main MIT partnership? That's unusual. And suspicious, Amy added. Why approach just Emma when your work has always been collaborative? Because her algorithm is the real breakthrough, Ethan said, a hint of bitterness coloring his voice. The hardware elements are just application-specific. That's not true, Emma protested. The algorithm wouldn't work without your hardware innovations. Maybe Professor Chin thinks otherwise, Ethan countered. Maybe she recognizes which twin got the real brains. Ethan, Amy admonished, surprised by the uncharacteristic hostility. Sorry, he muttered, not sounding particularly sorry. It's just interesting timing, that's all. Jack and Amy exchanged concerned glances. The twins' unified front, their greatest strength throughout challenges, was showing cracks precisely when they most needed solidarity. "Let me look into this internship offer," Jack suggested. "Before any decisions are made, Professor Chen is legitimate, but the circumstances warrant verification." "I already decided I'm not interested," Emma stated firmly. "Our work is collaborative. I'm not separating from Ethan." But the seed of division had been planted, and everyone in the room could feel it taking root. The next 2 weeks brought escalating complications. Wilson Tech's security team confirmed unauthorized access attempts against their corporate servers, specifically targeting areas containing backups of the twins' research. The attempts were sophisticated enough to suggest state-level resources rather than individual hackers. Meanwhile, Jack was pulled in multiple directions, managing the corporate security situation, attending custody negotiations for baby William, and trying to maintain his promised involvement in the twins' lives. Despite his best efforts, the balancing act resulted in canceled plans and postponed visits that reopened old wounds for Emma and Ethan. "He's doing exactly what he did before," Ethan observed bitterly after Jack rescheduled their weekend lab session for the 3rd time. "Prioritizing everything else above us. That's not fair," Emma argued, though with less conviction than usual. "He's trying to protect us and William while saving his company from cyber attacks." "Right. Poor billionaire with his 2 families and corporate empire." Ethan turned back to the secure terminal where he was running simulations. "Forgive me if I don't shed tears for his difficult life choices." Emma sighed, returning to her own work. The tension between them had grown steadily, exacerbated by enforced confinement and the stress of constant security presence. Their silent twin communication, once seamless and comforting, had become less frequent and more strained. A week later, Professor Chen reached out again, this time with a more formal internship proposal for Emma. The opportunity included accelerated academic credit, significant research resources, and mentorship from leading minds in algorithmic development, a 14-year-old's academic dream. "You should accept," Ethan said unexpectedly when Emma shared the updated offer. "It's an amazing opportunity. But what about our joint work? Our MIT partnership?" Emma studied her twin's face, trying to read his true feelings. Ethan shrugged with forced casualness. "The partnership's on hold anyway, and maybe working separately for a while would be good. Different perspectives, you know?" Emma wasn't convinced by his sudden supportiveness. "This feels like exactly what someone would want, to separate us, divide our work. Or maybe it's just a legitimate opportunity from a professor who recognizes your specific talents," Ethan countered. "Not everything is a conspiracy, Em." The conversation was interrupted by Amy calling them to the living room, where Jack waited with Marcus Jenkins, Wilson Tech's legal head who had become their regular liaison for security updates. "We've identified something concerning," Jack began without preamble. "Marcus discovered unusual patterns in the twins' MIT application materials during our security review." Marcus nodded grimly. "Specifically, we found metadata suggesting your research submissions were accessed and subtly modified before reaching the evaluation committee." "Modified how?" Amy asked sharply. "Technical specifications were altered to highlight certain capabilities while obscuring others. Most significantly, the energy density calculations were emphasized in ways that would flag the technology's potential for compact, high-output applications." "Weapons," Ethan translated flatly. "Someone modified our application to highlight how it could be weaponized." "That's our assessment," Marcus confirmed. "The modifications were extremely sophisticated, not changing your actual data, but restructuring the presentation to emphasize particular implications." "Who would have access to make those changes?" Amy asked. "That's where it gets complicated," Marcus replied. "The changes appear to have been made within the MIT submission system itself, after your initial upload, but before committee review. An inside job," Jack concluded. "Someone at MIT with system access and technical knowledge." The implications settled heavily over the room. Their technology had been deliberately framed to attract attention for its weapons potential, likely alerting individuals like Ming Zhang to its strategic value long before the public conference presentation. "I think it's time we confronted the military application question directly," Jack said after a moment. "The technology exists. Pretending otherwise won't make the interest disappear." "What do you mean?" Amy asked cautiously. "I mean, we need to understand exactly how the twins' innovation could be weaponized, then implement safeguards to prevent that specific application. You want us to explore weapons development? Emma looked horrified. Not to develop them, Jack clarified quickly. To understand the vulnerability and protect against it. Like a vaccine, you need to understand the virus to prevent infection. The twins exchanged uncertain glances. It actually makes sense, Ethan admitted reluctantly. We can't prevent misuse of something we don't understand ourselves. Emma looked less convinced. But if we document the military applications, even as prevention measures, couldn't that information itself be stolen? It would be conducted under maximum security protocols, Jack assured her. Isolated systems, no network connection, limited documentation. I don't like it, Amy interjected. They're 14. They shouldn't be working on anything even adjacent to weapons technology. I understand your concern, Jack acknowledged. But they've already created the core technology. The potential exists whether they explore it or not. Better they understand it completely than remain vulnerable through ignorance. The ethical dilemma hung heavily in the room. The twins' innovation, intended to bring sustainable energy to developing regions, had morphed into something with darker potential, and ignoring that reality wouldn't make it disappear. One day, Ethan said finally, breaking the uncomfortable silence. We spend one day exploring the military application angle. Just to understand the vulnerability. I can accept that. Jack agreed. Amy? She hesitated, maternal protection warring with pragmatic reality. One day, with both of us present, and nothing gets documented beyond secure verbal briefing. Emma remained quiet, conflict evident in her expression. This wasn't the innovation journey she had imagined when they first designed their solar storage system in their home lab. Ethical complications, security threats, military applications. The innocence of pure scientific exploration had been irretrievably lost. Emma, Jack prompted gently. We need your input too. I think, she began slowly. I think I want to accept Professor Chen's internship offer. The statement landed like a bomb in the already tense atmosphere. What? Ethan's supportive facade immediately cracked. Now? With everything else happening? Because of everything happening, Emma clarified. We need more information, more perspectives. Professor Chen is one of the leading minds in energy algorithm applications. She might help me understand aspects of our technology we haven't even considered. Or she might be part of whoever modified our MIT application, Ethan countered. Have you considered that? Marcus checked her background thoroughly after the first internship offer, Jack interjected. She's legitimate, distinguished career, no concerning connections. That you found, Ethan muttered. Amy studied her daughter's face carefully. Emma, are you sure about this? Separating from Ethan and the secure environment we've established here is a significant risk. I think it's a calculated risk worth taking, Emma replied with unexpected maturity. And MIT's campus has its own security. Dad could arrange additional measures. The family argument continued for hours, perspectives shifting and realigning as each person considered the implications of Emma's potential separation from the group. By evening, no consensus had been reached, except that additional investigation into Professor Chen's offer was required before any decision could be finalized. Late that night, long after the twins had retreated to their rooms, Amy found Jack still working in the kitchen, reviewing security reports with the intense focus she remembered from their early days building Wilson Tech. You should rest, she advised, making herself a cup of tea. You look exhausted. He rubbed his eyes, not bothering to deny it. Too much happening simultaneously. The custody negotiation for William is getting complicated. Vanessa's lawyers are using my security concerns for the twins as evidence. I won't have adequate time for an infant. Amy sat across from him. Is she wrong? You're stretched incredibly thin right now. I won't repeat my mistakes, Jack said firmly. I can manage both families' needs, the corporate situation, and the security concerns. At what cost to yourself? He smiled tiredly. That's surprisingly compassionate coming from my ex-wife who has ample reason to hope I fail spectacularly at juggling it all. I've never wanted you to fail as a father, Amy corrected. I've wanted you to succeed at that more than anything else. Even when I was angriest about the divorce, the simple honesty created a moment of connection, a brief window into their shared history before complications and betrayals. What do you think about Emma's internship idea? Jack asked, changing the subject. Professionally, not as her mother. Amy considered the question seriously. Professionally, it's an extraordinary opportunity. Professor Chen is brilliant, and her focus on algorithmic applications would expand Emma's understanding exponentially. But But separating the twins right now feels like playing into someone's strategy. They're stronger together. Their complementary thinking is what made the innovation so revolutionary in the first place. Jack nodded slowly. I agree. Though I also understand Emma's perspective. She feels trapped, watching her innovation being twisted into something she never intended. And you? What's your opinion on the military application exploration? Jack sighed deeply. Necessary, but disturbing. I never wanted them exposed to that side of technological development, but ignoring the potential won't make it disappear. Their conversation was interrupted by Jack's phone ringing, Vanessa's number, unusual for the late hour. Everything okay? He answered immediately, concern evident. Amy could hear Vanessa's voice, strangely urgent even through the phone speaker. Jack, someone tried to access the house tonight. Security intercepted them, but they had sophisticated equipment. They were trying to reach William's room. Jack's expression transformed instantly to cold fury. Was anyone hurt? Is William safe? We're fine. Scared but unharmed. Your security team was impressively effective. Vanessa's voice contained a new respect for the measures Jack had implemented. They think it was an attempted kidnapping. I'm on my way, Jack said immediately. Stay with the security team. I'll be there in 20 minutes. As he ended the call, Amy was already moving. Go. I'll alert our security team here to increase surveillance in case this is coordinated. Jack paused at the door. This is escalating beyond corporate espionage or technological theft. Targeting an infant changes everything. Amy finished for him. Go to William and Vanessa. We'll handle things here. After Jack left, Amy instructed their security detail to implement maximum protection protocols. As she checked on the sleeping twins, she couldn't shake the disturbing implications of the night's events. An attempted kidnapping of William suggested the stakes had moved beyond technology theft to personal leverage against Jack, which meant all his children were potential targets. The next morning brought news that chilled Amy further. Jack had been involved in a car accident on his way to Vanessa's house, a mechanical failure that sent his vehicle off the road. He'd escaped with minor injuries thanks to his car's advanced safety systems, but the timing was suspicious enough that Wilson Tech's security team was treating it as a deliberate attack. When the twins learned what had happened, their reactions revealed the complex emotions beneath their recent friction. Ethan, despite his resentment over Jack's divided attention, was visibly shaken by the thought of his father being targeted. Emma, always more openly emotional, immediately wanted to visit him in the hospital. That's not possible right now, Amy explained gently. He's already been released, and he's staying at Vanessa's house temporarily to provide additional security for William. At Vanessa's house? Ethan repeated incredulously. After everything? The attempt was aimed at his infant son. Amy reminded him. Whatever complications exist between the adults, protecting William is non-negotiable. Are we in danger too? Emma asked the question directly, her scientific mind assessing the logical implications. Amy chose honesty. It's possible. Which is why our security has been increased again, and why you both need to be extremely cautious about any communication or movement outside this house. This is insane, Ethan muttered, pacing the kitchen. All because we created a better solar battery. Not just a better battery, Amy corrected quietly. A revolutionary energy storage system with multiple strategic applications. In the wrong hands, it could shift global power balances. We never meant for any of this to happen, Emma said, distress evident in her voice. We just wanted to help people in developing countries access reliable power. Amy hugged her daughter tightly. I know, sweetheart. And that intention still matters, even as the situation has grown more complicated. Later that day, as Amy was reviewing the latest security protocols with their protection detail, she received an unexpected email from a name she hadn't seen in her inbox for months. Vanessa Wilson. The subject line was simple, but attention-grabbing. What you don't know about Ming Zhang. Amy hesitated before opening it. Vanessa's manipulations had caused years of pain for her family. But recent events suggested the situation transcended old rivalries. With careful security precautions, she opened the message on an isolated device. The content was surprisingly direct. Amy, I know we have a complicated history, but what's happening now goes beyond our personal issues. Ming Zhang isn't just after the twins' technology, he's been tracking their work specifically because of its connection to Jack. The attack on William and the attempt on Jack's life aren't random escalations. Zhang has a personal vendetta against Jack, dating back to a failed acquisition 5 years ago. My sources have uncovered financial connections between Zhang and individuals with access to your home. We need to talk, securely, without Jack's knowledge initially. This isn't just about technology anymore. It's about all our children's safety. Vanessa. Amy stared at the message, torn between ingrained suspicion of anything Vanessa initiated and the disturbing plausibility of the information. The timing aligned perfectly. 5 years ago, when Jack left their family for Vanessa, coincided with his aggressive Asian market expansion that had included outbidding several established companies for key infrastructure contracts. Could this entire situation be motivated by personal revenge rather than just technological acquisition? And what did Vanessa mean about financial connections to someone with access to their home? As Amy considered how to respond, another email arrived. This one from Professor Chen, confirming that Emma had formally accepted the offered internship and would be expected in Cambridge the following week. Amy nearly dropped the tablet in shock. Emma had made this decision without final family discussion, without security clearance, without resolving the ongoing concerns. The carefully constructed family unity was fracturing under pressure from all sides. Emma making unilateral decisions, Ethan retreating into resentful silence, Jack dividing his attention between multiple emergencies, and now Vanessa potentially offering critical information that might reframe their understanding of the entire situation. As threats escalated and relationships strained, Amy found herself in the unexpected position of needing to trust her ex-husband's current wife, the woman who had systematically worked to separate Jack from his first family because she might hold information critical to protecting all their children. The irony wasn't lost on her, as she composed a careful reply to Vanessa. "I'm willing to listen. Suggest secure meeting protocol. Children's safety is the priority." The alliance she'd never imagined forming might be their only path forward as the situation spiraled into increasingly dangerous territory. Whatever Vanessa knew about Ming Zhang and his connections to their family could be the missing piece needed to protect the twins' innovation and possibly their lives. Emma's announcement at dinner that she had already accepted the Cambridge internship created the explosive family argument Amy had feared. Ethan, already struggling with feelings secondary to his twins' algorithmic contributions, reacted with uncharacteristic anger. "You decided without even telling me?" he demanded, pushing away from the table. "After everything we've built together?" "I'm not abandoning our work," Emma defended. "I'm pursuing a specific aspect of it with expert guidance. We always said we wanted the best minds helping develop our technology." "No, we said we wanted to work together. That was the whole point." Amy attempted to mediate. "Emma, while I understand your interest in this opportunity, making such a significant decision without family discussion, especially given the security situation, that's exactly why I accepted," Emma interrupted. "We're stuck in this endless loop of paranoia and restrictions. Meanwhile, our technology, that could be helping people right now, is just sitting here behind security barriers. Because people are actively trying to steal or weaponize it," Ethan shouted. "Did you miss the part where Dad was nearly killed and someone tried to kidnap our half-brother?" Emma flinched but held her ground. "Professor Chen has security connections too. MIT isn't some vulnerable outpost, and getting different perspectives might help us understand who's really targeting us and why. Or you might be walking directly into a trap," Ethan countered. "Did you consider that? Maybe this whole internship is just another attempt to separate us and access our work through you." The argument continued circling without resolution. Emma was determined to pursue the opportunity she saw as both academically valuable and a potential source of new information. Ethan felt betrayed by her unilateral decision-making, and Amy, caught between supporting her daughter's agency and protecting her from potential dangers, found herself in an impossible position. "We need Jack's input on this," she finally said, attempting to pause the argument. "He should be involved in the security assessment for Cambridge before any final decisions are implemented." "I already talked to him," Emma revealed, causing both Amy and Ethan to stare in surprise. "This morning, after he was released from the hospital, he's arranging security for Cambridge now." "You went around all of us," Ethan said quietly, hurt evident in his voice. "You and Dad made this decision without me. It's my algorithm, Ethan. My part of the work. There wouldn't be an algorithm without my hardware design." His voice broke slightly. "We've always been a team. Until now." Emma had the grace to look momentarily ashamed, but her determination remained. "This isn't forever. It's 8 weeks, with constant communication. And when I return, we'll have new insights to integrate into our shared work. Ethan stood abruptly. Do whatever you want. You always do anyway. As he left the room, Emma looked to her mother with a mixture of defiance and uncertainty. Am I making a mistake? Amy sighed deeply. I don't know, Emma. I understand your reasoning, but the timing and circumstances concern me deeply. And regardless of the technical merits, you've hurt your brother by making this decision without him. He'll understand eventually, Emma said with more hope than conviction. Once he sees what I learn at MIT. Perhaps, but trust, once damaged, is difficult to rebuild, even between twins. Later that night, as Amy prepared for her secret meeting with Vanessa, she couldn't shake the feeling that every relationship in their family was being systematically targeted: parent and child, husband and wife, brother and sister. The perfect pattern of division suggested not random opportunity, but careful strategic planning. Who stood to gain from their complete isolation from one another? And was Emma's internship decision truly her own, or had she been subtly manipulated as part of this broader strategy? The answers might lie with Vanessa, the woman who had once been the architect of their family's greatest pain, but now positioned herself as an ally against a greater threat. Whether this represented genuine concern or another layer of manipulation remained to be seen. As Amy slipped out to meet her husband's current wife, she couldn't help noting the irony. The family that had fractured 5 years ago was now breaking along new fault lines, creating unlikely alliances and unexpected divisions. Emma and Ethan, once inseparable, were pursuing divergent paths. Jack was temporarily living with Vanessa for their infant son's protection, and Amy was seeking truth from the woman who had systematically lied to separate Jack from his first family. The dangerous dance around the twins' innovation had transformed into something more personally threatening, and the next steps would determine not just the fate of their technology, but potentially their safety and relationships as well. The secluded cafe Vanessa had chosen for their meeting was deliberately unremarkable, a place neither woman would normally frequent, making their presence together less likely to attract attention. Amy arrived first, selecting a corner table with clear sightlines to all entrances, a security habit she developed over the past month. When Vanessa entered, Amy barely recognized her. Gone was the polished corporate wife, with designer wardrobe and perfect styling. This Vanessa wore minimal makeup, simple clothing, and carried herself with the cautious alertness of someone who understood genuine threat rather than merely cultivating image. Thank you for coming, Vanessa said as she sat, placing a signal-blocking device discreetly on the table between them. I wasn't sure you would. Our children's safety transcends our history, Amy replied simply. You said you have information about Ming Zhang. Vanessa nodded, dark circles visible beneath her careful makeup. What do you know about Jack's Asian market expansion 5 years ago? The public version. Wilson Tech outbid several established companies for key infrastructure contracts. It was considered a major corporate victory. It was more complicated than that. Vanessa glanced around before continuing. Ming Zhang's company was the primary competitor. He had spent years developing relationships with government officials, preparing for those contracts. Jack's last-minute entry with superior technology blindsided him. Business competition happens constantly. That doesn't explain targeting children. The contracts weren't just business to Zhang. They were family legacy. His father had spent decades building connections in those regions. When Jack won, Zhang lost face catastrophically. He was publicly humiliated in a culture where that matters deeply. Amy processed this new information. So this is about revenge? Using our children's technology to retaliate for a business loss? Initially, yes. Vanessa's voice lowered further. But it evolved when he discovered the remarkable innovation came from Jack's children. The symmetry was too perfect, using Jack's own children's creation to destroy his company and restore Zhang's family honor. How do you know all this? Amy asked, suspicion edging her tone. Vanessa hesitated, then reached for her phone, pulling up a photo. Because he approached me first, nearly a year ago. The image showed Vanessa and Ming Zhang at what appeared to be a private dinner. Her expression was guarded but engaged. He knew about the tensions in my marriage, about my resentment of Jack's renewed connection with the twins. He presented himself as a potential ally, someone who understood what it was like to be sidelined by Jack Wilson's priorities. You've been working with him? Amy felt cold fury building. Not in the way you think. Vanessa's expression hardened. I may have resented your children's place in Jack's life, but I would never endanger them. When I realized Zhang's true intentions went beyond corporate gamesmanship to actual harm, I began documenting everything. And when exactly did you have this ethical awakening? Before or after someone tried to kidnap your son? Pain flashed across Vanessa's face. I deserve that. But William's birth changed everything for me. Suddenly I understood what you must have felt all these years, the fierce need to protect your child at any cost. Amy wasn't ready to accept Vanessa's conversion narrative, but the information itself warranted attention regardless of its source's motivation. You mentioned financial connections to someone with access to our home. Vanessa nodded, sliding a folder across the table. These are financial transfers from a shell company connected to Zhang. The recipient is someone regularly present in your household. Amy opened the folder, expecting to see Priya's name, or perhaps one of the service personnel. Instead, she found herself staring at detailed financial documentation for someone unexpected, Marcus Jenkins, Wilson Tech's legal head who had been coordinating their security response. This can't be right, Amy whispered. Marcus has been with Wilson Tech for years. He helped expose your attempts to block the twins from the innovation contest in the first place, which made him the perfect sleeper agent, Vanessa pointed out. Who better to manipulate the situation than the person already trusted to manage it? The person with legitimate access to all security protocols, research documentation, and family scheduling. The evidence was compelling, regular payments coinciding with key information leaks, access to their home laboratory when the listening devices were likely installed, direct involvement in the MIT partnership documentation that had been subtly modified. Does Jack know? Not yet. I needed verification first, and I wasn't sure who at Wilson Tech might also be compromised. That's why I contacted you directly. If Marcus is working for Zhang, then all our security measures, all our precautions, have been systematically undermined from within. Vanessa finished grimly. And worse, Emma's internship arrangements. Amy felt her blood run cold. Marcus helped establish the security protocols for Cambridge. Exactly. I believe her internship is a carefully orchestrated trap. Professor Chen may be legitimate, but if Marcus arranged the security details, Emma could be walking directly into Zhang's hands. Amy was already reaching for her phone. I need to stop her departure. Wait. Vanessa caught her wrist. If we alert Marcus to our suspicions, we lose our only advantage. We need to approach this strategically. Amy stared at her husband's current wife, finding herself in the surreal position of considering tactical advice from the woman who had once been her nemesis. What are you suggesting? Let events proceed as planned, but with our own countermeasures in place. If Emma goes to Cambridge with security we control, not Marcus's team, she'll appear vulnerable while actually being protected. You want to use my daughter as bait? Amy's voice rose dangerously. I want to spring the trap on our terms, not theirs. Vanessa corrected. Zhang believes he's manipulating all of us according to his plan. That's his vulnerability. Amy considered the strategy with reluctance. The mother in her wanted to lock Emma safely away. The engineer recognized the tactical logic of Vanessa's approach. I'd need absolute confidence in the security team. I have connections outside Wilson Tech, private contractors with no links to Marcus or corporate structures. They've been protecting William and me since the kidnapping attempt. Why would you help us like this? After everything? Vanessa met her gaze directly. Because I was wrong about your children. Because my son deserves to know his siblings without this shadow hanging over all of us. Because despite everything, Jack shouldn't have to choose between his children's safety. Whether Amy believed Vanessa's redemption narrative was secondary to the practical value of her information and resources. With Marcus potentially compromised, their options were limited. I need to speak with Jack about this, privately and securely. Already arranged. He'll meet us at my security team's headquarters in 1 hour. No devices, no potential monitoring. As the women left separately to avoid being seen together, Amy's mind raced with implications. If Marcus had indeed been Zhang's agent all along, their entire understanding of the situation required recalibration. The supposedly secure home lab, the verified MIT partnership, the carefully structured protection protocols, all potentially designed to appear safe while actually exposing them to surveillance and manipulation. And at the center of this deception was the man they trusted to protect them, the man currently arranging Emma's transportation to Cambridge. Ethan sat alone in his bedroom, systematically reviewing security footage from their home laboratory over the past several months. His twins' impending departure for MIT had catalyzed something in him, a determination to understand exactly how their innovation journey had transformed from scientific breakthrough to dangerous entanglement. As the third son of a prominent Cambridge physics professor, Marcus Jenkins appeared frequently in the footage, delivering updates, reviewing security protocols, occasionally examining the twins' equipment with professional interest. Nothing overtly suspicious, yet something about his interactions nagged at Ethan's analytical mind. He created a timeline, correlating Marcus's visits with known information leaks, security, upgrades, and system access events. A pattern emerged, subtle but undeniable. Each significant exposure of their technology had been preceded by Marcus's physical presence in their laboratory space. Hiding in plain sight, Ethan muttered, understanding dawning with sickening clarity. The person they'd trusted to protect them had been systematically compromising them from within. His first instinct was to call Emma, but their recent estrangement gave him pause. Would she believe him? Or dismiss his concerns as jealousy over her prestigious internship? The division between them, once unthinkable, now created dangerous vulnerability. Instead, he placed his evidence carefully on a secure drive and texted his father, "Need to meet urgently. Don't bring Marcus. Don't tell anyone at Wilson Tech. It's about our security." Jack's response came immediately. "Already meeting with your mother about security concerns. Come to this address as soon as possible." The location was unfamiliar, neither their home nor any Wilson Tech facility. Ethan hesitated only briefly before grabbing his findings and alerting his personal security detail. If his suspicions about Marcus were correct, they couldn't risk standard protocols or locations. Emma's preparation for MIT proceeded with mixed emotions. Excitement about working with Professor Chen competed with guilt over Ethan's hurt feelings and anxiety about separation from her family during such uncertain times. As she packed her personal research materials, she couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted in her relationship with her twin, a fracture that might not easily heal. A text from Professor Chen interrupted her melancholy thoughts. "Looking forward to your arrival tomorrow. Bring only essential research notes. We'll provide all necessary equipment here. For security, please don't discuss specifics of your travel arrangements on any communication devices." The message seemed reasonable, given the circumstances, yet something about its tone triggered Emma's caution. She'd never actually spoken directly with Professor Chen. All communication had been via email or text, with security arrangements handled by Marcus. On impulse, Emma searched for Professor Chen's faculty profile, seeking a direct phone number. The listed office line went straight to voicemail, but the voice sounded different from what Emma had expected, younger, with a slightly different accent than the brief video clips she'd watched of Chen's conference presentations. Uneasiness growing, Emma began researching more thoroughly, cross-referencing Professor Chen's published work with the specific interests mentioned in the internship offer. The alignment was imperfect, subtle discrepancies in focus areas and methodological approaches that wouldn't be apparent to someone unfamiliar with the technical details. Was she being paranoid, or was something genuinely amiss with the internship opportunity she'd so eagerly accepted? Emma hesitated, torn between proceeding with her plans and voicing her concerns. The family rift made the decision more complicated. If she canceled now, would it appear she was simply giving in to her brother's objections? Her deliberation was interrupted by another text, this one from her mother. "Need to discuss important security update. Meet at this address immediately. Come with your security detail. Tell no one else." The unfamiliar address and urgent tone conveyed the seriousness of the situation. Emma gathered her research notes, suddenly grateful she hadn't packed them for MIT yet. Whatever was happening, her mother's caution suggested their home might no longer be considered secure. The private security facility, where Jack waited for Amy, was unmarked and unremarkable from the outside, a converted warehouse in an industrial district that gave no indication of its sophisticated interior. When Amy arrived, she found Jack reviewing documentation with an intensity that reminded her of their early days building Wilson Tech's security architecture. "You've seen Vanessa's evidence?" she asked without preamble. "Yes, and I've been running parallel verification through channels Marcus doesn't know about." Jack looked haggard, the strain of recent events visible in new lines around his eyes. "The payments are real, substantial and carefully concealed, but definitively linked to Zhang's operations. Marcus has been with you for years. Why would he betray Wilson Tech?" It wasn't initially betrayal in his mind. Jack sighed heavily. "From what we've pieced together, Zhang approached him after his father's death 3 years ago. Marcus had significant gambling debts, and Zhang offered a solution that started small, just occasional information about our Asian market strategies, but escalated to targeting our children. Amy finished bitterly. When Zhang discovered the twins' innovation, yes, the perfect revenge, using my children's creation to simultaneously destroy Wilson Tech and rebuild his own corporate empire with military-grade energy technology. Their discussion was interrupted by security alerts, announcing Ethan's arrival, followed minutes later by Emma's. The twins entered separately, their usual synchronized movements notably absent as they maintained awkward distance from each other. "What's happening?" Emma asked, looking between her parents with concern. "Why are we meeting here? And why is she here?" Ethan added as Vanessa entered from a side room, baby William sleeping against her shoulder. "Because we've all been manipulated," Jack explained, gesturing toward the evidence displays. "And we need everyone's perspective to understand the full picture." Over the next hour, they shared their separate discoveries. Amy and Vanessa's findings about Marcus's financial connections to Zhang, Ethan's timeline correlating security breaches with Marcus's laboratory access, Emma's concerns about discrepancies in the internship communications, and Jack's verification of Zhang's long-standing vendetta stemming from the Asian market competition. "So my internship was just a trap," Emma concluded quietly, the disappointment evident in her voice. "The offer may have been legitimate initially," Jack clarified. "Professor Chen is a real person with genuine interest in your algorithm. But Zhang's organization likely intercepted the communication and modified it to serve their purposes, with Marcus ensuring the security arrangements would actually facilitate access to you and your research." "What about the listening devices in our lab?" Ethan asked. "Marcus installed those?" "Most likely during routine security upgrades," Amy confirmed. "The same access that allowed him to protect your work also enabled him to compromise it." The twins exchanged a look, the first moment of silent communication they'd shared in days. "So what do we do now?" Emma asked. "Cancel everything? Hide forever?" "Actually," Vanessa spoke up, shifting William gently as he stirred, "we think there's an opportunity here." "An opportunity?" Ethan repeated skeptically. Jack nodded. "Zhang believes his plan is proceeding perfectly. Marcus is coordinating Emma's transportation to Cambridge tomorrow, where Zhang's team will likely be waiting to isolate her and access her research directly. Meanwhile, Ethan remains at home under supposedly secure protocols that actually leave him vulnerable to similar interception. "You want to use us as bait," Emma realized, echoing Amy's earlier accusation. "We want to control the narrative," Amy corrected. "Let Zhang believe his plan is working while actually leading him into a position where we can expose his entire operation." "How?" Ethan demanded. "By giving him exactly what he wants, apparent access to your technology, but on our terms." Jack gestured toward the technical equipment in the corner of the room. "We create a modified version of your innovation that appears functional, but contains critical limitations that would become evident only in weapons application." The twins considered this strategy with matching frowns. "A technical honeypot," Emma said slowly. "It would work only if the modifications were subtle enough to pass initial inspection but significant enough to fail catastrophically under military power requirements." Ethan nodded, professional interest temporarily overriding personal tension. "We could adjust the thermal regulation protocols. They'd appear normal in standard testing, but would create cascading failures under sustained high-output conditions." "Exactly," Jack confirmed. "Meanwhile, we plant evidence suggesting you've had a breakthrough that addresses precisely the weapons potential Zhang is seeking. Something so valuable, he'd risk direct involvement, rather than operating through proxies. And when he moves on this false breakthrough," Vanessa continued, "we'll have international authorities prepared to intercept him for attempted industrial espionage and conspiracy." "What about Marcus?" Amy asked. "He knows our security protocols intimately. Marcus receives only the information we want him to have," Jack explained. "He believes he's coordinating Emma's MIT arrival, but she'll actually be going to a secure location with our private security team. Similarly, he thinks Ethan remains at home with standard protection details, but he'll also be relocated." "What about William?" Emma asked unexpectedly, looking at her half-brother sleeping against Vanessa's shoulder. "He stays with me in a secure location known only to this room," Vanessa replied. "Zhang has already demonstrated willingness to target him. We take no chances with any of the children." The comprehensive strategy addressed their immediate safety concerns, but bigger questions remained unresolved. The twins exchanged another glance. their silent communication slowly re-establishing despite recent friction. And after, Ethan asked, if this works and Zhang is apprehended, what happens to our technology? It still has weapons potential that others might pursue. It was the question that had haunted their innovation journey from the moment they understood the darker applications of their creation. No security measure or legal protection could permanently prevent misuse of truly revolutionary technology. That's ultimately your decision, Jack said, surprising everyone. This is your innovation, your intellectual creation. While we can help protect you from immediate threats, the long-term ethical questions about implementation and control remain yours to resolve. But we're just teenagers, Emma protested. How are we supposed to control how our technology is used globally? By making deliberate choices about its release, Amy suggested. By establishing clear ethical guidelines and implementation protocols as conditions of licensing. By retaining control rather than selling outright ownership. And by working together, Jack added pointedly. Your complementary perspectives and skills created something revolutionary, precisely because you balanced each other's approaches. Divided, you're more vulnerable, both personally and intellectually. The twins absorbed this observation silently, recognition dawning that their recent conflict had played directly into Zhang's strategy of isolation and vulnerability. I'm sorry I accepted the internship without discussing it fully, Emma said finally, turning to her brother. I thought I was making a logical decision about our work, but I was actually being manipulated into separating from you. And I let my hurt feelings cloud my judgment, Ethan acknowledged. Instead of supporting your opportunity, I withdrew exactly as they wanted me to. Their reconnection, while tentative, represented the first step toward rebuilding the unified front that had made them so effective throughout their young lives. The adults exchanged relieved glances. Whatever happened with Zhang, healing the twins' relationship was equally crucial to their long-term well-being. So we implement this technical honeypot, Emma summarized. Her natural leadership reasserting itself. Create a modified version of our technology that seems legitimate but would fail under military application. While appearing to have a separate breakthrough specifically relevant to weapons potential, Ethan continued seamlessly. Something too valuable for Zhang to resist pursuing directly. And we do it all while letting Marcus believe he's successfully controlling our security and movements, Emma concluded. Jack nodded approvingly. Precisely. It's a complex deception that requires perfect coordination between all of us. No communication through standard channels, no deviation from the agreed narrative, no indications to Marcus that his cover is blown. The family spent hours refining the strategy, each person contributing their specific expertise. Amy's algorithmic knowledge helped design the technical modifications that would appear legitimate while containing critical flaws. Jack's corporate security experience structured the deception to anticipate Zhang's likely responses. The twins' intimate understanding of their own technology enabled them to create a convincing breakthrough that would specifically target weapons applications. Even Vanessa contributed valuable insights from her interactions with Zhang, helping them understand his psychological vulnerabilities and likely pressure points. William slept peacefully throughout, occasionally shifting against his mother's shoulder, a poignant reminder of exactly what was at stake in their dangerous gambit. By morning, the plan was set. Marcus would receive carefully controlled information, suggesting everything was proceeding according to Zhang's design. Emma departing for MIT, Ethan remaining at home, Jack dividing his attention between Wilson Tech's security crisis and his new son's protection. Meanwhile, the entire family would actually be operating from secure locations unknown to anyone connected with Wilson Tech's compromised security systems. One final question, Emma said as they prepared to implement their strategy. What if we're wrong about Marcus? What if there's another explanation for those financial transfers? Then we've taken unnecessary precautions, Jack acknowledged. But given the evidence and the stakes, we can't risk assuming his innocence. We're not pursuing punishment without confirmation, Amy added, understanding her daughter's concern. If we're wrong, Marcus will never know we suspected him. If we're right, we'll have protected you from someone actively working to harm you. The twins nodded, accepting this approach. After final security preparations, they separated to their assigned positions, each carrying modified versions of their research and carefully rehearsed narratives designed to advance Zhang's apparent success while actually leading him into an elaborate trap. Emma departed ostensibly for MIT, her security detail composed entirely of Vanessa's trusted contractors rather than Wilson Tech personnel. Ethan returned home briefly, with his own independent protection team, retrieving specific materials before relocating to a separate secure facility. Amy established herself at a university colleague's private research space, coordinating the technical aspects of their deception. Jack maintained his visible corporate presence, providing Marcus regular updates that revealed nothing of their actual strategy. And Vanessa, cradling William, disappeared to a location known only to Jack, a final precaution against Zhang attempting to leverage the infant again. The elaborate chess game had begun, with each family member playing a carefully choreographed role and a strategy designed to appear as vulnerability while actually representing their greatest strength. Unified purpose despite physical separation. The next 48 hours unfolded with precise coordination. Emma arrived at MIT to apparent normal protocols, met Professor Chen carefully observed by undercover security, and began work in the research laboratory. Ethan remained visibly at home, continuing development on their shared technology with ostentatious security measures that concealed subtle vulnerabilities. Jack divided his time between Wilson Tech headquarters and Vanessa's residence, maintaining the appearance of a CEO struggling to balance corporate crisis with family responsibilities. Marcus received regular updates on all movements, reporting to his Wilson Tech security team, while presumably feeding information to Zhang through encrypted channels. The technical honeypot was gradually assembled through seemingly routine development work, with deliberate breakthroughs documented in systems Marcus could access. The trap was baited when Emma discovered a modification to their energy storage algorithm that theoretically enabled 200% greater output density, perfect for weapons applications, while appearing to be an innocent efficiency improvement. She documented this finding in MIT's secure system, knowing Marcus had arranged access through Professor Chen's credentials. The reaction was immediate. Within hours of the discovery being logged, Emma noticed increased security around the MIT laboratory, additional personnel with military bearing despite civilian clothes, equipment deliveries that bypassed standard protocols, and unusual restrictions on her movements within the building. Simultaneously, Ethan reported suspicious surveillance around their home laboratory and attempts to access their local servers through previously secured channels. The pressure was building exactly as they had anticipated, with Zhang's organization responding to the apparent breakthrough opportunity. The final phase initiated when Professor Chen approached Emma with an unexpected request, a private demonstration for potential investors tomorrow evening. Very exclusive. Transportation will be provided directly from campus. Emma agreed with practiced enthusiasm, while alerting her actual security team through prearranged signals. Ethan received similar approach through Marcus, who suggested a parallel demonstration of the hardware components for interested corporate partners with significant implementation resources. As the twins prepared their separate demonstrations, law enforcement agencies were quietly positioned at both locations, coordinating with Jack and Amy through secure channels unknown to Marcus. The trap was set, with Zhang's organization moving exactly as anticipated toward what they believed was unprecedented access to revolutionary weapons technology. The evening of the demonstrations arrived with palpable tension. Emma dressed carefully for her MIT presentation, concealing a sophisticated tracking device within her seemingly ordinary watch. Ethan prepared similar precautions at his location, both twins ready for the possibility that Zhang's organization might attempt physical extraction rather than merely technological theft. Jack maintained position at Wilson Tech headquarters, deliberately visible to provide Marcus continued confidence in their ignorance. Amy coordinated from her colleague's laboratory, monitoring both twins' signals and maintaining connection with law enforcement teams. Vanessa remained in secure seclusion with William, removed entirely from operational knowledge for maximum protection. Emma's investors' meeting began precisely at 7 p.m. with an unmarked vehicle arriving at MIT's research building. As expected, the driver deviated from the supposed destination, heading instead toward a private airfield outside Cambridge. Her security detail followed discreetly, maintaining constant communication with coordinating teams. Simultaneously, Ethan's demonstration for corporate partners transformed into a similar extraction attempt, with Marcus personally arriving to escort him to an urgent meeting with your father that was clearly unauthorized. Law enforcement teams tracked both vehicles, allowing the twins to proceed into the apparent trap while maintaining surveillance and intervention capability. The separate vehicles converged unexpectedly at the same destination, a private research facility registered to one of Zhang's shell companies. As Emma and Ethan were escorted inside, their matching expressions of surprise at seeing each other were entirely genuine. This deviation from expected protocol hadn't been anticipated in their planning. Inside the facility, they found Ming Zhang waiting with the calm confidence of someone who believed victory was already achieved. The brilliant Reed Wilson twins together at last. He greeted them, his pleasant demeanor belying the armed security personnel positioned throughout the room. Your separate extraction was merely precautionary. The real work requires both algorithm and hardware specialists working in concert. Marcus stood slightly behind Zhang, his expression unreadable, as he watched his former clients being delivered into his employer's hands. "Where's our father?" Ethan demanded, playing his role perfectly. "You said he needed us urgently. A necessary deception to ensure your cooperation," Zhang explained smoothly. "Jack Wilson is otherwise occupied with corporate crisis management, a situation that will intensify considerably once your breakthrough technology enters the marketplace under Horizon Technologies' banner." "You're stealing our patent," Emma stated flatly. "That won't work. There are international protections, legal recourse. For technology that remains in established jurisdictions, certainly," Zhang interrupted. "But in 1 hour, you and your research will be on a private jet to my development facility in a region with more flexible intellectual property considerations." The twins exchanged alarmed glances, not entirely feigned, as this accelerated timeline represented deviation from their anticipated scenario. "You expect us to just cooperate in weapons development?" Ethan challenged. Zhang's expression hardened slightly. "I expect you to understand the realities of your situation. Your cooperation is preferred, but not strictly necessary. Your documented research provides sufficient foundation for my engineers to complete development. Then why bring us at all?" Emma asked, buying time as she confirmed their tracking devices remained active through subtle check of her watch. "Efficiency," Zhang replied simply. "My technical team estimates 6 months to reverse engineer your innovations independently. With your assistance, implementation could begin within weeks." As Zhang outlined his plans for their technology, law enforcement teams moved into position around the facility, awaiting final confirmation before intervention. The surveillance feed from the twins' concealed devices provided critical intelligence about personnel positioning and apparent weaponry. "There's something you should know about our breakthrough," Emma said carefully, implementing the final phase of their strategy. "The efficiency improvement isn't stable under certain conditions." Zhang's eyes narrowed slightly. "Explain." "The algorithm requires specific hardware modifications to prevent catastrophic thermal escalation," she continued, glancing at her brother. "Ethan was working on those adjustments when you brought us here. The prototype at your home laboratory is incomplete," Ethan interjected. "The MIT version contains critical software elements, but without the hardware modifications, any attempt at full power implementation would result in system failure. Possibly explosive failure," Emma added for emphasis. Zhang turned to Marcus. "You assured me their prototype was operational." "The basic technology is functional," Marcus confirmed uneasily. "But their recent breakthroughs may have introduced new variables." "Then you will complete the necessary modifications here," Zhang informed the twins. "My facility contains adequate equipment for whatever adjustments are required." "We'd need specialized components," Ethan countered. "Custom materials that aren't commercially available." "Materials currently secured at Wilson Tech's Advanced Research Division," Emma added. "Without them, the system will remain fundamentally unstable for weapons-grade output." Zhang's confident demeanor showed its first significant crack. The twins had introduced a complication he hadn't anticipated, technical requirements that couldn't be addressed through simple extraction of their existing research. "Then perhaps we should invite your father to join us," Zhang suggested with dangerous calm. "With appropriate incentive, I'm certain Jack Wilson would provide whatever materials his children require." The implied threat hung in the air as Zhang turned to Marcus. "Arrange contact with Wilson. Use the contingency protocol we discussed." As Marcus stepped away to implement this new direction, law enforcement received final authorization for intervention. The twins' tracking data had provided complete facility mapping and personnel positioning, enabling precise tactical planning. The operation executed with synchronized precision. Simultaneous entry at multiple access points neutralized Zhang's security personnel before they could respond effectively. The twins were secured by their protective detail within moments of the first breach, removing them from potential danger as Zhang and Marcus were taken into custody. The entire confrontation lasted less than 3 minutes from first entry to complete security control. Zhang's expression transformed from confident victory to cold fury as he realized the extent of the deception. The technical breakthrough that had lured him into direct involvement had been carefully crafted bait in an elaborate trap. As the twins were escorted to a secure vehicle, they spotted their parents waiting anxiously beyond the police perimeter. The family reunion was emotional but brief, security protocols requiring immediate relocation to a protected debriefing facility. It worked, Emma said wonderingly as they were driven away from the scene. He actually believed we created weapons-grade technology. Because that's what he wanted to believe, Jack explained. The most effective deceptions align with the target's existing assumptions and desires. What happens now? Ethan asked, the adrenaline crash leaving him suddenly exhausted. Full debriefing with international authorities, Amy explained. Zhang's operation spans multiple jurisdictions. The evidence gathered tonight will initiate investigations across several countries. And Marcus? Jack's expression darkened. Facing numerous charges, from corporate espionage to conspiracy and child endangerment. His cooperation may reduce sentencing, but his career is effectively over. As the immediate danger receded, the family began processing the broader implications of the night's events. Their successful operation had neutralized the immediate threat from Zhang, but the underlying issue remained unchanged. The twins had created technology with genuine dual-use potential that would continue attracting interest from both legitimate and concerning sources. 2 days later, after extensive debriefing and security assessments, the family gathered at Vanessa's secure residence, the first time all of them, including baby William, had been together in one location. The setting was unusual, but somehow appropriate, representing their reconfigured family bonds forged through shared crisis. The prosecutors believe they have sufficient evidence for international charges against Zhang, Jack explained as they shared a meal that felt like both celebration and strategy session. His organization's reach was more extensive than even we anticipated, with connections to military research divisions in several countries. What about our technology? Emma asked the question that had been hovering over them since the confrontation. It still exists. Others will still want it. That's why we've been discussing a rather unconventional approach, Amy replied, glancing at Jack for confirmation. He nodded. We believe the best protection may be controlled release rather than continued secrecy. You want to publish our research? Ethan asked incredulously. After everything that's happened? Not publish exactly, Jack clarified, but implement a managed open-source development model with specific licensing restrictions that prohibit military applications. The theory being that widespread civilian implementation creates public documentation that would make weaponization attempts more visible, Amy continued. Transparency as security. The twins considered this approach with matching thoughtful expressions. It's counterintuitive, Emma acknowledged, but actually quite logical. Secrecy creates value in exclusive access. Controlled openness diminishes that particular value proposition. While still maintaining patent protection for commercial implementation, Ethan added, following the reasoning, we don't lose economic benefit, but we reduce the appeal for military adaptation. Precisely, Jack confirmed. With appropriate licensing structures, your innovation could fulfill its original purpose, bringing reliable energy storage to developing regions, while establishing monitoring mechanisms that would flag potential weapons development. Wilson Tech would handle the corporate implementation side, Amy added, with your oversight and approval at every stage. And MIT? Emma asked. The real partnership, not Zhang's manipulated version? Still available when you're ready, Jack assured her, with completely restructured security and genuine faculty involvement. Professor Chen was horrified to learn how her program had been leveraged in Zhang's scheme. As the discussion continued into technical and legal implementation details, Vanessa entered with William, who had awakened from his nap. The infant regarded the gathering with solemn curiosity, his eyes finding the twins with particular interest. Would you like to hold him? Vanessa offered unexpectedly, looking at Emma and Ethan. He should know his siblings. The moment carried significance beyond the simple act. Vanessa, who had once systematically worked to separate the twins from their father, was now explicitly acknowledging their permanent connection through this new life. The gesture represented her own transformation as much as the changed family dynamic. Emma accepted the baby carefully, his small weight surprisingly solid in her arms. Hello, William. I'm your sister Emma. And that's Ethan, your brother. We're going to teach you all about energy systems when you're older. And algorithm development, Ethan added, gently touching the baby's hand. Though, Mom says, we should probably wait until you're at least 5 for the really complex mathematics. The adults exchanged glances over this scene, Amy and Jack with parental pride in their extraordinary children, Vanessa with newfound understanding of family bonds that transcended marital complications. We make an unusual family unit, Jack observed quietly, but an effective one when properly aligned toward common purpose. Like our technology, Emma noted, still holding her half-brother. Different components with complementary functions, creating something stronger than the individual parts. Exactly like that, Amy agreed, watching her children, all 3 of them, with the perspective of someone who had witnessed both painful fracture and unexpected healing in the family structure. The journey of their revolutionary technology had transformed their family relationships in ways none of them could have anticipated when the twins first developed their solar storage system in their home laboratory. What began as a straightforward innovation had become the catalyst for confronting old wounds, establishing new connections, and recognizing the strength in their reconfigured family bonds. As they finalized their strategy for the technology's controlled release, the twins understood that their creation would always carry both promise and risk, the fundamental duality of truly significant innovation. But they would face those challenges together, their bond restored and strengthened through the crucible of recent events. Their dual-phase conversion system would indeed transform energy accessibility globally, though through a more complex implementation path than they had initially envisioned. The technology that had nearly torn their family apart had ultimately become the force that united them in common purpose, proof that innovation's greatest power lies not just in the systems it creates, but in the human connections it transforms along the way. To brilliance properly applied, Jack proposed, raising his glass in a toast that acknowledged both the technology's potential and the family's resilience. And to calculations of all kinds, Amy added, her gaze encompassing the extraordinary children who had overcome targeted manipulation through their unified brilliance. As glasses clinked around the table, their unconventional family, once fractured along multiple fault lines, found itself aligned in shared purpose and mutual protection. Whatever challenges the future held, they would face them not as separate units but as an integrated system, each component essential to the whole. In the end, the final calculation was simple. Together they were stronger than any force that sought to divide them.